The medal that changed everything. It was a quiet evening in the outskirts of Atlanta, when a notorious local gang, known for their ruthless violence and racist ideologies, spotted an elderly man walking down the street. Dressed in worn-out clothes and leaning on his cane, the man caught their attention, his pace slow but steady, his posture resolute. The gang, a group of young men, had never hesitated to target anyone who didn't fit their view of the world. They saw the man's age, his frailty, and assumed he was an easy target. But what they didn't know was that the old man wasn't just any random person. He was a decorated war veteran, someone who had seen and endured things they could never imagine. The gang started taunting him, throwing insults about his age, his race, and his apparent weakness. They laughed as they surrounded him, expecting him to cower, to submit. The leader, a tall, broad-shouldered young man with a permanent sneer on his face, shouted, "What's a man like you doing walking around in our neighborhood?" "You're in the wrong place, old man." The old man didn't flinch. He simply stood there, his face showing no emotion. But his eyes, those eyes were filled with the weight of decades of memories. "Do you think you're tough?" the leader mocked, taking a step forward, his friends snickering in the background. "What's the medal for, huh? Some war you fought in long ago." The old man slowly reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, tarnished medal. It was a Purple Heart, given to soldiers who had been wounded in combat. He held it out, not saying a word. The gang leader stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "What's that supposed to be?" he scoffed, clearly not recognizing the significance. "It's a symbol of my service," the old man replied softly, his voice carrying a strange, calming authority. "A symbol of the sacrifices I made for a country I love, a country that believes in freedom for all, no matter who you are or where you come from." The gang members chuckled, but their laughs were hollow. The leader snatched the medal from the old man's hand, inspecting it closely. "So you fought for this country? You think that makes you special? You're nothing but an old man now. Just go back to your rocking chair." But as the leader held the medal up to the light, something happened that none of them expected. The gleam of the medal seemed to shift. It wasn't just a piece of metal, it was a window into history. It was as if the weight of countless stories from men and women who had fought, bled, and died in wars past surged through the small object, touching the leader's hands. The gang leader froze. His smug grin faded. His heart began to pound. Suddenly, he felt something he had never felt before: remorse. The other gang members, who had been watching the scene unfold, also went silent. The air was thick with something they couldn't name. It was a sense of reverence, a silent understanding that they had been wrong. The old man, still standing there, his hands clasped in front of him, simply said, "It doesn't matter what you think of me. But you can't take away the legacy of the men who fought and died for something bigger than themselves. You don't have to agree with me, but you should at least respect the history." The gang leader lowered the medal. His hands trembled slightly, and he didn't meet the old man's eyes. He looked at the ground, feeling a heavy weight that had nothing to do with the old man's frailty or his age, but everything to do with his own ignorance. One by one, the gang members began to step back. The taunts stopped. The jeers faded into a tense silence. Without another word, the gang leader handed the medal back to the old man, a strange apology in his eyes. As the group walked away, there was no more boasting, no more insults. The old man, once surrounded by hate, was left alone but not defeated. He simply watched them go, the faintest of smiles curling at the edges of his lips. He had done more than just survive in a war. He had reminded a group of young men of the power of respect, honor, and history. It was a small moment in the grand tapestry of life, but for those young men, it was a turning point. They would never forget the old man and the lesson he taught them about the strength of a person, the courage of a veteran, and the power of a single, humble medal. And for the old man, as he turned and walked away, the weight of the world felt just a little bit lighter. This twist takes a gang of racists and flips their narrative, turning a moment of potential violence into a reflection on the true meaning of honor and respect. The old veteran's medal symbolizes something much larger than himself, and through its power, he teaches the gang members a lesson they won't forget.